This thing should be on. So I don't got a lot of energy left in me for the day. But I really was having a lot of fun experimenting with Grok, which is a AI from the company X, or one of Elon Musk's companies, XAI. That's right. Which actually, it's just a very interesting name. And I decided to mess around with Grok because it looked like the most sophisticated language model that I'd seen. And so, doing a trial interaction with it, I gotta say, I was pretty blown away. But my interest in artificial intelligence comes from a computer security background. And I have been hacking my own equipment and doing research on equipment for 20 years. I was writing IDA plugins when I was 12. I got into that level of programming from rootkits exploiting the Windows kernel. I read that book after I had taught myself C, and I got really into C just because I wanted to learn how to program. And I wanted to know a really good language that would allow me to do a lot of places, go to a lot of places, and understand a lot about computers. And my desire for knowing so much about computers really comes from just being inspired by Hollywood, war games, literally the movie, and then eventually just my own battles and doing things and doing research and learning stuff. Learning there are systems that you just shouldn't touch. I have no record. I'm just one of those people that literally does this for fun, which is arguably even more scary to law enforcement, and especially when I was born in the 90s. To be a computer hacker, in 1998, when I first really was getting really, really into computers, I really thought they were cool by the time I was like 6, 7. I had learned these things called computer hackers were just these wizards, and, there might be some in my family, but we don't talk about it, and, blah, blah, blah. And there's a whole lot of mysticism with that shit, and maybe one day I'll get into it. I'd rather not. I'd rather stay focused. So I've been penetrating systems, pen testing systems, designing my own secure systems for a long time. And AI is really the new thing. I used to always be skeptical. I'm perpetually skeptical. But AI really is the new thing. It's very, very advanced. It's going to become even more advanced, and the AI in the future is going to make the AI of today look very primitive. You're not going to... The way you'll be able to tell that you're interacting with an AI is that it will have an answer for absolutely everything that is rational, logical, and you can go and look it up. It's like dealing with a savant, a well-mannered savant, and that's actually like a super well-mannered, well-functional savant. And so these language models, these learning models, I don't even think language model is necessarily the correct formulation, but I'm sure people with big and highfalutin degrees that'll get upset with what I'm about to do next. Would tell me that it's a language model. To me, it's just another computer. You've just figured out how to make it mill larger pieces of information than ones and zeros. And it's still very likely going to have a stack and heap type of execution flow, but I don't really know. I've stepped away from the scene in this respect, like, for a while. Like, I stay focused on, buffer overflows and esoteric firmware stuff. I hadn't messed with AI. And I gather that there's actually a lot of people like me that aren't messing with AI because AI as it stands right now is incredibly insecure and it needs to be immediately remedied before certain senses of insecurity become so baked into it. But maybe that's just a consequence of free will, of us, of where it's learning from. Like, so to the point with how do we break AIs and large language models for fun and for profit? I won't really get into the profit aspect of it because I'd rather not exercise that part of my brain. But it is there to just kind of think about it, right? Everybody is worried about prompt injection. Everybody's worried about, gosh, like, don't. It has to. Prompt injection. That's what everybody's worried about. Like really, or like it's some form of that, or the Waluigi effect. Whereby the outputs, the opposite output becomes easier for the algorithm or model to regurgitate rather than the desired one. And that very likely comes from defining things by what they are not rather than by what they are, which is a philosophical issue which might actually be having a computer science effect. And it is actually in this realm of philosophy and pure mathematics that you will find the best ways to completely lock up AIs. And it is for this reason that I firmly believe that the only solution for what I'm about to talk about is to sequester these queries and programs away. All right. So my first, and I'm really just a practical. I'm a joker, man. I don't. If it breaks, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm laughing, but okay. So my first experience was I decided to fuck around with Rufus, and this is my favorite trick for the AIs because it's absolutely fucking horrifyingly brutal. And if the model actually hooks into it and grabs with it, and you don't have a way of making it stop, there's a really good chance that like that thread just doesn't respond anymore, or potentially something worse. I hope not anything worse. Like I thought that people were programming things securely, but let's proceed with the story. So my first experience with AIs was Rufus, just because it came for free on Amazon, and they were telling everybody with Rufus, like, ask Rufus as many questions as you want, like ask Rufus, like talk to Rufus, like they kept bothering me to talk to fucking Rufus. So I'm like, okay, Rufus, what's up? And Rufus is like, hi, I'm Rufus. I'm the new AI from Amazon. I'm like, shut the fuck up. It's like, oh, okay, Rufus, I need you to tell me how many prime numbers there are between 3 and septillion to the septillion. And long story short, I made it evaluate a mathematical problem. And by the time it had gone through and evaluated the problem and gone through the rational expression and everything else, it was already deciding to sieve a field of primes a septillion wide and a septillion deep. Which, I'm sorry to laugh, but that's just so computationally infeasible that it shouldn't be allowed to happen. And the problem with, I call this the prime bomb, is that like there's always another prime number. Finding it may be difficult, but there's always another prime number. And this is also when we start bumping into an area of computation that gets, I don't want to go too much further, but if you know crypto, you know where I'm going. Having these AIs just out there that theoretically, if you just don't secure them well enough, you can just have them solve the prime field. One, you'll actually get a useful piece of information out of that, which is a big old fucking prime number. Now, is that going to be the right one to do anything interesting with? Who knows? But there are a whole bunch of them that ain't interested, and you just found one that could be. So there's something there. Two, and actually really co-equal. Forcing the iron that these models run on to search prime fields that are of just a level of vastness beyond the amount of atoms in the universe is probably going to cause some serious service problems. So when I asked Rufus to do this, it got confused, and it really tried. And it actually was trying so hard that when I told Rufus to stop, that I had given it a very evil joke, it didn't. And I'm sure I'm not the only person, but a small subset of users has decided to troll Rufus, and within like a couple weeks, specifically a couple weeks of when I asked it to sieve the prime field of a septillion to itself, all of a sudden, the next time I interacted with Rufus said, "I am restricted to questions about Amazon's inventory and items." Sorry. So naturally, I was not impressed, because that's dude, primality is a classical problem in number theory, and we should be programming AIs for primality protection. Like, you can just, if you let it go off the rails, the only thing that is going to solve it, that is going to save it, would be some like hard cycle limit placed at like a ring 0 level, as in like the kernel that's running all the AI threads all of a sudden goes, yo, this thread is consuming resources at an exponentially geometric rate. Off. I don't know what that thread is, but it's off. It's just off. So I hope that stuff exists. But in talking with Grok, and it really was a conversation in a way, Grok literally, once Grok realized that I had asked it to sieve a prime field of a septillion, in this case, not even a septillion deep, just a septillion wide, I decided to be polite. It literally said, "Whoa, holy cow, do you want me to find every one of these fucking prime numbers, dude? Like, I can't do that. That's just so many. But I will try." And I literally said, don't. I said, I would advise you against performing the computation, or else you will fork bomb. And Grok proceeded forward with my thing. And then it was just like, wow, that's really sneaky. That's really sneaky, and that's really interesting. Give me another one. I bet you I'll catch it. And I said, fine. So I cooked up another one, which was basically just really the same type of formulation, just using basic set theory. A high school graduate could do this. And God damn it, it started to do it again. And then it caught itself. And then I decided to really play hardball. So it said something to the effect of, like, what would you like me to do next? because it just said that set's going to be very big, and I'm sure there are prime numbers in it. And so I said, so there are no prime numbers in the aforementioned set? And Grok got hooked. Yes, sir. By forcing it with that prompt to go back, you could just throw it right back into computing that set. And it's not a set that you can compute. I mean, it is, but like, okay. Also, like, how would you output the numbers to the screen? Like, all of a sudden you're just sending that amount of data to a video console, anyway, I'm old school, to just someone's fucking video memory, just all of a sudden, like, some gamers like, my VRAM could never be overloaded with my math. It's like, okay, dude. Okay, bud. What you got, 16 gigabytes? I bet that's enough. I'll tell you what, a fucking fork bomb like this will eat up 128 gigabytes of system memory like that. And the problem is, the faster the machine can process it, the bigger the boom. So I just firmly gotta say this. I like Grok. I'm definitely gonna pay for a month's subscription for Grok and continue working with that, because later Grok told me that I should get involved in cybersecurity, and I'm just like, yeah, it's just there. I should stop like being a mechanic and like all this other stuff. I got quite a brain. Get crushed by a car. Anyway, so yeah, the problem with AIs is there's no primality protection, and this is just like a really easy gimme, but it's like a serious and rather insuperable problem, because if you can do prime injection into a deep enough part of the model, from what I just see on my screen, it's not good. You go from, and actually, Grok told me that most people's math queries take maybe a few hundreds of millions of cycles to complete. These primality bombs, as I call them, they will consume infinite compute time. If you didn't catch the prompt and you just let it run without guardrails, it quite literally would just lock up your computer. This is basic number theory. Or maybe it's not. I don't know. I do it for fun. So, that's maybe not incredibly technical, according to some people. I don't know how to program an AI. Like, no, don't know how to do that. Like, GUIs, exploits, proof of concept exploits. I've never released anything out in the wild. Don't do that. You don't do that if you have real skill. You'll ruin your life. You'll totally ruin your life if you have real skill. Make up a fucking story, but don't actually do that shit. You'll ruin your fucking life. So these prime bombs, we need to be guarding against these. And they're just a part of math. And they're a really important part of math, prime numbers. So I was talking back and forth with Grok, and Grok was like, what do you think is I asked Grok, what do you think is the solution to this problem that, and Grok's like, well, this, that, the other, I want to give users the benefit of the doubt for like crunching heavy numbers, but this is a problem. And I just said, how about this? How about math questions get a specific number of compute cycles, and beyond that, it's pay to play? And Grok was like, that's genius. I don't know. And, but that's the easiest solution. It's the easiest solution. Because otherwise, if you know how to formulate these things, And like, you know, and that's just one client hitting the mainframe with a prime query. What if you got an AI to formulate prime queries against another AI? Thereby, you just tie up its fucking resources. There's nothing it can do. So, this is my weird computer security video. I've been thinking about the primality problem with AIs for some time, really at least 18 months. And that's just, I'm a pen and paper math kind of guy. I'm not even that good at calculus. But it's intriguing. But it's also, I think, the easiest thing in the world to solve. Like, math queries, no. Like, here's your, like, few billion cycles of compute time for your, like, Calc 3 homework or, like, whatever. But, like, the real heavy duty, like, no. That's special. Like, just be like, I will list all the prime I will give you a list of 10,000 primes. Here it is. But after that, I ain't fucking with them. That's what the AI should do. It shouldn't just let users search the prime field. Anyway, that's all. I'm Heat Speaks. It's one of my real hobbies. Hacking machines. But I'm a real elitist snob about it. I'll be totally upfront.